What's up, guys? Thanks for tuning in on today's video. I'm Gabe, and today we're going to be talking all 5th generation Camaro SS. In this video, I'm going to talk to you guys as to why I decided to purchase, the real reason why I decided to purchase a 5th generation Camaro SS, why I chose to buy this particular 5th generation Camaro SS, and I'm also going to give you guys some valid points for you to consider as to why you should buy a 5th generation Camaro SS if you're considering or a little hesitant to pull the trigger on one of these 5th gen SSs. I've had this car for almost 7 years now. At the time, in 2016, late 2016, when I purchased this car, I was not very well versed with cars like I am now. I didn't truly appreciate the wonders of this car, the technical attributes of this car, and I really didn't appreciate the competition. The biggest reason why I decided to go with the 5th generation Camaro SS was because of the exterior and the interior styling of this car. At the time, in 2007, I think like many people, I fell in love with its debut on the Transformers movie. I love the fact that it was able to have like this unique tank muscular look that really combined the attributes of what a modern muscle car would look like by adding little features like, for example, the HID semicircle headlights up front, the two-piece grille design also had some nice curves, the low roof line, and then all of it extending back to a really muscular looking rear end, and also adding a little bit of retro car, classic car feel with the interior, the gauge clusters, the tachometer, speedometer, the infotainment system. It's very simplistic, just like muscle cars were back in the days. And of course, the second reason why I decided to purchase a 5th generation Camaro, really the earlier model 5th generation Camaro, was because depreciation had done its work. That was late 2016, entering 2017. The new 6th generation Camaros were just being released and pumped out, and everybody was psyched about having them. And of course, the 5th generation Camaro at my time were already experiencing a lot of depreciation. At that point, it had depreciated almost 60% of its MSRP value. So you could buy these cars back in 2016 for anywhere between 16 to 25,000. And I'm talking about the pre-refreshed 5th generation Camaros. So, and obviously that depended on the mileage, transmission, trims, etc., etc. But ultimately, it was a relatively affordable car for me at the time. And at the time, I was living with my parents, carefree. All I had to worry was really about the gas and the monthly payments. My parents were actually helping me out with the insurance, which I thank God every single day that, first of all, I was able to be put in that position where all I really had to worry about was a car. And when it came down to the decision of, okay, what 5th generation Camaro do you want, the pre-refresh or the post-refresh, I decided to go with the pre-refresh, not only because of cost, but also because I've always really loved the look of the pre-refresh models, with the exception of course, the Z28, which came out in 14 and 15, so part of the post-refresh. But the regular SSs, for me, I didn't like how they unified the lights, and I don't like the other aspects of it. I think the pre-refresh was the ultimate version of what a perfect blend of a classic retro and modern muscle car looks like. And ultimately, that is why I decided to purchase a 5th generation Camaro SS, because one, it looked good on the outside and the inside, and two, depreciation had done its numbers and made it affordable for me at the time. All right, guys, so now let's talk about why I decided to choose this particular 5th generation Camaro SS. And before I take you through the actual day that I bought it, let's talk about some of the criteria that I had set for myself prior to even remotely thinking about buying a 5th gen Camaro SS. So first one is that it had to be a 2010 through 2013 for the reasons that I mentioned before. And the second reason or criteria, and this was the absolute non-negotiable, it had to be this. It had to have this criteria or else it was just a no-go. It had to have the 6.2 liter naturally aspirated V8 engine. And to put it simply, I wanted to have that power that came with the LS3 or L99. I wanted the sound, that gorgeous brutal V8 sound that you just wouldn't be able to get both power-wise and sound-wise with the V6 model without spending an unreasonable amount of money. Also, for longevity reasons, the LS3 and L99 has been proven to be a car, an engine rather, that has lasted a lot longer and has been less of a headache for people to maintain and to repair and to just keep over the long term versus the V6 engine, the 3.6 liter. Also, there was the gas mileage situation. You don't really get that much of a benefit with the V6. It's like maybe 2 miles per gallon in the city and maybe 4 on the highway, which is not all that appealing, to be honest. Now, the third criteria was not as important as number 2, but it definitely took precedent over the other ones that I'll be sharing momentarily, and that is that it had to be paired to a 6-speed manual transmission option. Now, if the deal was just too good to give up, I would have probably gotten an automatic, but to be honest, this was going to be my first V8 sports car experience, and I wanted it to be as authentic, as real, and as poetic as possible. So buying the manual transmission and having that option would have been totally the correct answer and the correct way to satisfy and check off that box. Believe me, the first couple years was definitely a little bit of a honeymoon phase, and as the year started to progress, I started to really see the negatives of having a manual transmission as a daily. Now, I have an entire video detailing and reviewing the 2 different engine options with the transmission options, the LS3 V8 manual transmission and the L99 V8 automatic transmission, pros and cons, overall driving conditions, which one is better. So if you guys want to check that out afterwards, please do by all means. That's a great way to get further information on these 5th generation Camaro SSs beyond the ownership opinions. Fourth criteria that I had to have, which is definitely not as important as it being a V8 and a manual transmission, had to be that it had to have the RS package with the headlights up front, which I absolutely love these front headlights. It's honestly one of my favorite parts of this car, and the leather seats in the interior, which come in either the 2SS or if you get the RS package, which basically what that means, and I'll make a video in the future separating the two, but basically all I wanted was these lights and leather seats, and the 2SS and the RS package were the only ways to get those seats. And for the final criteria, the 5th criteria that the Camaro had to have, which again wasn't all that important, and you guys can clearly see that I didn't keep true to that, was that it had to be either a black Camaro or an orange Camaro. That's right, guys. At one point, I wanted to do the black and orange Halloween themed Camaro. And when I first saw this car online in the Bomden Chevrolet website, I was taken aback. I was like, they made blue Camaros? I had seen the Hot Wheel edition, which has a lighter blue. I did some more research on the blue, and it turns out that it is indeed a rare 1-year color. They only offer this for the 2010 models, and there was about 3,900 that were made in total. So this does put me in a very small percentile of 5th generation Camaros. This blue under certain shades just looks absolutely gorgeous. It has actually many different shades. That's what I really like about that aqua blue metallic. During the light of the day, you get to see some of that, yellow, greenish, blue color scheme going on, and it's just a gorgeous color. And when I saw it in person, I was like, wow, this might be it, guys. It's been somewhat of a signature move for me. Everybody always compliments this car whenever I go to car meets or whenever I'm just out on the road. People love the color scheme of the black on blue and yellow accents. It's just a wonderful color to have. And I'm truly thankful that I was able to purchase this because, again, they are a rare color. If I were to look right now, today, for any selling in the country, there'd probably maybe be 3, and there's, I would say, hundreds of 5th gens for sale right now. So the day that I bought my car was interesting because it was a gorgeous day like today, and I was totally not expecting me walking out of there with a 5th gen Camaro. And at the time, I was driving a Corolla that my parents handed down to me, which I am very much thankful for. I didn't really appreciate it at the time. At the time, I was thinking, let's go see it. I'm not overly convinced with it. And my dad, was the one that pushed me to say, you know what, let's go look at it. So we went to go see it in person. It was absolutely beautiful in person, even though it was stock as hell and not as nearly as aggressive as it is now. It still looks so beautiful. And it was love at first sight with that blue, man. And remember, I had said that I had certain criterias at the time, so it started to check off one by one. Literally, I was there on my phone. It was a pre-refresh, 2010, check. The price looks really good. That was actually one of the first things that caught my eye, check. It has a V8, it's an SS, 6.2 liter naturally aspirated V8, check. Manual transmission, check. 2 SS with the RS package, fully spec'd out and fully loaded, except it didn't have the sunroof, check. It just was like, you know what? I know it's not black, I know it's not orange, but I really like this car. And the deal just sweetened everything for me. So my dad was the one that says, let's buy it. And I said, well, let's buy it. And he's like, do you have any savings? And I'm like, yeah, I do. And I was like, well, you're still working, right? Yeah, I do. And at the time I had 2 jobs, like I mentioned earlier. So he's like, trade in the car, helped out with the down payment, which by the way, it was a huge help for me. There we go. I ended up saying, you know what, screw it, let's do it. And it was kind of like an educated YOLO, because it's not like I was completely like, I had nothing and I was just signing in to drive it, and it was just such a special moment. I was just in love. It was a honeymoon phase, and even today, man, this car still excites me so much, and I'm so thankful that I was able to do this. Let's talk now why you should buy a 5th gen Camaro SS. Okay guys, so what better way to convince you guys that you should be buying a 5th generation Camaro SS than to actually drive it out on the road. And this is where we're gonna talk about the first reason why you should buy a 5th generation Camaro SS, and that is because it is an incredible platform to get started in the muscle car, 400 horsepower, V8 driving experience, or if you're looking for the next project car, this is a car that has an incredible base to it. Now, this car particularly has been modified both on the exterior and the performance and engine modifications, and it of course has this lovely, powerful V8 straight pipe setup. But any LS3 model or any L99, any V8 that comes with a 5th generation Camaro SS is going to have about 400 to 426 horsepower depending on which engine that you get. And again, I have an entire video detailing the differences between the 2 different engine and transmission options that come with it. So check it out, guys. I know I keep telling you to go check it out, but it's important to understand that. And whether you get either one of these, you're gonna have a pretty good amount of power that is available to you. Take this turn right here. Yeah, man, this has a lot of low-end power and a lot of low-end torque, which is what makes the LS3 such an awesome car, or awesome engine rather, because it gives you like that instant gratification that you won't really get with the Mustang GT. But going back to the reason number 1, it's a great platform to get started or to build on your next project build. Not only do you get a powerful and reliable naturally aspirated 6.2 liter V8, you also get a lot of other performance characteristics like the independent rear suspension that it was significantly better than the solid frame axle in the S197 Mustang GT that really helps you turn the corners with a lot more confidence that you just wouldn't get. And that's the reason why the Mustang GT is the meme when it comes to crashing all the time, because of that solid frame axle. So the fact that you get this level of technology in a car that's 13 years old or around that time frame, it's actually very impressive. And not only that, but you also get an insanely reliable Tremec 6-speed manual transmission, the 6060, and this is one of the best transmissions that I have ever used. I mean, I have beaten on this car, and I know a lot of other Camaro owners have beaten on their car, and one of the things that everybody loves to talk about is that Tremec 6-speed manual transmission. It's just dependable, it's durable, it's solid, and it doesn't have the same problems that you would get in the MT82 transmission in the Mustang GTs, the S197, and even the S550s. And that's something that is definitely a plus to this car. And it's not only a precise rear suspension setup and a solid transmission, you also get Brembo brakes from the factory, and those are standard whether you get the basic entry-level Camaro SS or not. You're gonna get Brembos up front and in the rear as well, and that is just something that I love. I absolutely love. It was actually something that really sold me and reassured that I made the right decision when I bought this 5th generation Camaro. Now, these brakes are they're pretty solid, and you know, it's just those little things, man, those little things that are just so much more than just having a big V8, man. You want to have different components around it to really ensure that it encircles a wonderful and somewhat reliable driving experience. And you know, you gotta be safe too. So the fact that it has a good transmission, it has a good rear suspension, and it has good brakes out of the box, that's something that you just can't beat. Now, the second reason is going to take that a step further, and we're going to talk now about the affordability of it. So obviously depreciation has done its numbers, and for the principal, you know, price to get into this car, it's significantly cheaper than, of course, the 6th generation Camaro. And of course, if you want to look at things that it offers a lot more than the 4th generation, the Catfish model or generation. What's really good about these 5th generation Camaro SS's is that for a pretty you know, reasonably affordable price of anywhere from $16,000 to $25,000, depending, of course, on the mileage, the years, the options, and you know, other things. You could drive a rear-wheel drive 400 horsepower car, so it's a pretty good bargain. So for somebody that's, again, trying to get started or just build a project car, this is a great platform for that in terms of cost. And it's not only the cost to buy the car, it's also the cost to modify the car as well. So there is plenty of aftermarket products, different manufacturers and people to sell those type of modifications, and the actual price to buy them and install them is not as much as you would think it is. Now, even to keep the car running, it's relatively inexpensive as well. I actually have another full in-depth video where I do a cost breakdown of what it has costed me, more or less, to have this car for almost 7 years at this point. And I think that I definitely got a Camaro that has had some more problems than normal, but overall, on the forums and just overall conversations, which I'll bring me to my next reason, it's a pretty reliable car and a pretty affordable car to maintain and to modify. All right, so the third reason why you should buy a 5th Gen Camaro SS is because these cars are relatively easy to work on if you decide to work on the car yourself. And obviously that ties into the affordability, because it also means that the mechanic might be able to work on it in a lot easier fashion than you could. If you wanted to take the tasks to go ahead and try to, do any upgrades or repairs or replacements, this is an excellent platform to be able to do that. I mean, you have so much space in the engine bay to replace any sort of water pumps or even install cams. Everything is very easy to take out. Like these bumpers, for example, they're just a couple of screws and really just pulling it out, and that's it. I mean, some of the replacements and jobs that I've done have taken a little bit longer because I've had to videotape it and kind of take a step-by-step instruction tutorial type of approach to it. Now granted, there's some couple modifications and replacements that are kind of difficult to do. For example, if you had to replace the AC evaporator, which is something that I think goes wrong a lot with 5th generation Camaros, well, it's gonna be kind of difficult to do that. But for the most of the things that at least takes for this car to run, so oil changes, water pumps, any sort of spark plug replacements, things that really are more likely to go out, that are rather innocuous and important but not necessarily catastrophic. Even if it was catastrophic, to work with an LS3 or an L99, if you take it out, it's just so much of an easier task to do than I think any other car, or not really any other car, but if you decide to buy this car, that's a plus one you might want to consider. And for the final reason why you should buy a 5th generation Camaro SS, and that is that it is a plentiful, abundant, and thriving community. There is so much information on Camaro 5 and other forums about the 5th generation Camaro SS. Whether you want to look up how to replace something, any sort of information or technical questions, recommendations on what type of modifications you want to go for, there is thousands and thousands of pages and threads on the 5th generation Camaro SS, which is so important to have because access to information is so valuable when it comes to, I think, any sort of product or investment. With the access and the abundance of informations and aftermarket products, there is also a very friendly community behind it. Sure, there's a lot of shit talking, and yes, there are people that will make remarks about your build, but ultimately there's an overwhelming majority of people that love and support the 5th generation car community, and that's so important too, just like the access to information and the mods. Well guys, there you have it. That is my full video detailing as to why I decided to choose a 5th generation Camaro SS, why I chose this particular Camaro SS, giving you guys a little bit of an anecdote and some criterias that led me to that decision, and of course, some valid points for you to consider as to why you should potentially buy a 5th generation Camaro SS. Now, look, whether or not you decide to buy the pre or post refresh 5th Gen SS, some of the things that I've mentioned to you are going to be obviously standard and available and will apply, and you are gonna see situations where you get even more, like the SS 1LE package. You're only gonna get more exciting offerings and trims and additions for you to choose from. But ultimately, the 5th generation Camaro is an incredible platform to choose. And believe me, even after 7 years of owning this car, or almost 14 years that this car has existed in itself, it still brings me so much joy. To this day, I still get people commenting how great the car looks and how it sounds. And guys, if this video wasn't enough to really persuade you, or you have some more doubts, I literally have dozens of videos showcasing how this car is to drive, how it is to daily drive. Overall, I've got a library of content for you guys to binge watch. It would not only help you as a consumer to learn more about the 5th generation Camaro and see what it's capable of doing, but it'll also help me with the channel. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you guys found this informative and somewhat entertaining. If you guys enjoyed this video, hit the like button, helps out tremendously with the algorithm. If you guys enjoy my content overall, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And guys, don't forget to hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my future videos, my reviews, my how-tos, my POV drives, anything in that nature. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you on the next one.